The council chamber floated in space above a planet called Axis Prime. Inside the massive room, representatives from dozens of alien species sat in curved rows. The ceiling showed stars outside, making everyone feel small under the universe. Daniel Carter sat alone at Earth's desk near the back. He wore a simple black suit and held a folded newspaper in his hands. The room buzzed with clicks, hums, and strange sounds as aliens talked to each other. Most of them kept looking at Daniel. Some pointed. Others made gestures that might have been insults in their cultures. Daniel did not seem to notice or care. He unfolded his newspaper and began reading the front page. At the center of the chamber, High Chancellor Vorn stood up. He was tall and covered in dark green scales. His yellow eyes swept across the room until everyone went quiet. "We gather today for an urgent matter," Vorn said. His voice came out as a deep hiss that translators turned into words everyone could understand. "The species called humans have gone too far." 7 ambassadors stood up from their seats. They represented 7 different alien civilizations. Each one looked different from the others. One looked like a giant insect with 4 arms. Another resembled a floating jellyfish made of light. A third had fur and too many legs to count quickly. They all moved to the front of the chamber and stood in a line. Ambassador Krixthar stepped forward from the group. He was the insect-like one with a hard shell that shined under the lights. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. "For months, we have watched the humans spread through space like a disease," he said. "They build colonies on worlds they have no right to claim. They ignore our borders. They refuse to follow the laws that keep peace in our galaxy." Daniel turned a page of his newspaper. The sound of paper rustling echoed in the quiet chamber. Several aliens stared at him in disbelief. Krixthar's antennae twitched in anger. "3 colonies," he continued, his voice getting louder. "The humans have built 3 colonies in the outer reach sectors. These sectors have been under council protection for 2,000 years. We demand that Earth remove all humans from these colonies immediately." Another ambassador spoke up. This one looked like a bird with silver feathers. "The humans come from a deathworld," she said. "They do not understand civilization. They breed quickly and consume resources without thought. They must be controlled before they become a threat to all of us." More aliens nodded and made sounds of agreement. Daniel finished reading an article about farming on Earth. He moved to the sports section. High Chancellor Vorn raised one clawed hand. "Earth's representative will now respond to these charges," he announced. Everyone turned to look at Daniel. He did not stand up right away. He finished reading a paragraph about a football game, then carefully folded his newspaper and placed it on the desk. He stood slowly, buttoning his suit jacket. A young woman sitting next to him, Lieutenant Sophie Hayes, looked nervous. She wore a matching Earth uniform and carried a small computer pad. Daniel walked to the center of the chamber. His shoes made soft sounds on the smooth floor. He stopped a few feet away from the 7 ambassadors and smiled politely. "Thank you, Chancellor," he said. His voice was calm and friendly, like he was at a coffee shop instead of facing threats from alien civilizations. "I've listened carefully to your concerns," Daniel continued. "I understand you want Earth to abandon 3 colonies and stop expanding into what you call protected space." He paused and looked at each of the 7 ambassadors. "That's an interesting request." Krixthar's mandibles snapped together. "It is not a request, human. It is a demand. You have 48 hours to begin evacuation, or we will take military action." Several other aliens made sounds of support. Some banged appendages on their desks. Others flashed colors or released scents that translators could not convert to words. Daniel nodded slowly. 48 hours, he repeated. "That's 2 days." He looked at his watch, an old mechanical one with hands instead of a digital display. "So by this time, 2 days from now, you expect an answer?" You expect Earth to surrender or face the combined military might of 7 civilizations, the bird-like ambassador said. We have assembled 300 warships in the systems near your colonies, 300 human. Your entire species has perhaps 100 ships, and most of those are cargo vessels. Daniel smiled again. It was the same polite smile, showing no fear or worry. 300 ships, he said. That's quite a lot. He turned to look at Sophie. Lieutenant Hayes, please note that the Council has assembled 300 ships near our colonies. Sophie's fingers shook slightly as she typed into her pad. Noted. Sir, she said quietly. Daniel turned back to the ambassadors. I appreciate the specific timeline, he said. 48 hours is very reasonable. However, I'll need to make a phone call. Actually, we call it a communication now, but old habits stick around. Would it be possible to have a short recess? Maybe 30 minutes? High Chancellor Vorn's scales rippled in what might have been confusion. You wish to recess before giving your answer? I need to call home, Daniel explained, picking up his newspaper from the desk. I should let my superiors know about your offer. It's only polite. Crixthar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. The human wants to call home for instructions, he announced to the chamber. He cannot even make simple decisions without permission. This is the species that claims to be strong enough for space colonization. Other aliens joined in the laughter. Daniel waited patiently until they finished. So, 30 minutes? He asked again. High Chancellor Vorn looked tired. 30 minutes, he agreed. We will reconvene then. Daniel nodded his thanks and walked back to his desk. He picked up his newspaper and gestured for Sophie to follow him. As they left the chamber through a side door, Sophie leaned close to him. Sir, they're threatening war, she whispered urgently. Shouldn't we show more concern? Daniel glanced at his newspaper's headline as they walked down the corridor. Lieutenant, did you read today's paper? No, sir. I've been preparing briefing documents. There's a great article about corn yields in the Midwest, Daniel said. Record harvest this year. Very encouraging. He pushed open the door to a private communication room. Now let's make that phone call. Sophie followed him inside, wondering if her boss understood the danger they faced, or if he knew something she did not. The communication room was small and plain. White walls surrounded a simple desk with a holographic projector in the center. Daniel sat down in one of 2 chairs and gestured for Sophie to take the other. He placed his newspaper on the desk, then reached forward and activated the projector with a touch. A blue light filled the air above the desk. After a few seconds, the light formed into the image of a woman in a dark blue military uniform. She had short gray hair and 3 stars on her collar. Admiral Patricia Blake looked like someone who had seen many battles and won most of them. Envoy Carter, the Admiral said. Her voice was crisp and professional. I hope the council meeting went well. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Admiral Blake, good to see you. The meeting was interesting. They served terrible coffee, but the threats were very organized. Patricia's expression did not change. Threats? What kind? 7 civilizations have formed a coalition, Daniel explained. He spoke in the same casual tone he had used in the council chamber. They want us to abandon 3 colonies in the outer reach sectors. They have given us 48 hours to agree, or they will use military force. Sophie watched the Admiral carefully, expecting shock or anger. Instead, Patricia simply nodded. Which sectors specifically? Sectors 7, 9, and 12, Daniel replied. Patricia looked down at something outside the hologram's view. Those are the colonies we established 8 months ago. Good farming worlds, moderate gravity, plenty of water. That's correct, Daniel said. How many ships are they threatening with? Patricia asked. They claim 300 warships assembled near our colonies. Patricia made a small sound that might have been amusement. 300. That's more than I expected. They must be very concerned. She looked up from whatever she was reading. What's your assessment, Envoy? Daniel picked up his newspaper and tapped it thoughtfully. They believe their own speeches. Ambassador Krixthar called us a disease. Another one mentioned we come from a death world and don't understand civilization. The usual complaints. They still think we're primitive, Patricia said. It was not a question. They think we're primitives who got lucky with faster-than-light travel, Daniel confirmed. They have no idea we've been preparing for this since first contact. Sophie could not stay quiet any longer. Preparing, sir? I don't understand. Daniel turned to look at her. Lieutenant Hayes, how long have you been assigned to diplomatic service? 6 months, sir. Then you weren't there for first contact? Daniel folded his hands on the desk. 15 years ago, an alien ship entered Earth's solar system. They did not come to talk. They came to take resources. They thought Earth was undefended because we had no ships in space beyond basic satellites. Patricia continued the story. They landed mining equipment on an asteroid near Mars. When we sent a shuttle to investigate, they opened fire. They destroyed the shuttle and killed 8 people. Sophie's eyes widened. I never heard about this. Most people haven't, Daniel said. We kept it quiet. But that incident taught Earth an important lesson. The galaxy is not friendly. It's not even neutral. It's full of species who see us as either resources or obstacles. What happened to the alien ship? Sophie asked. Patricia's smile was cold. We destroyed it. They expected us to have primitive weapons. They did not expect nuclear missiles or railguns. After we captured their technology and learned how to translate their communications, we discovered something interesting. The galaxy has not seen a real war in over 3,000 years. Daniel nodded. Most species expand slowly through negotiation and treaties. Conflicts are resolved by the Council through discussions and economic pressure. Actual fighting is rare. When it happens, it's usually small border disputes. So they don't know how to fight, Sophie said slowly. They know how to threaten, Patricia corrected. They know how to position ships and make demands. They just haven't met anyone who threatened back in a very long time. She looked at Daniel. What do you need from me? I told them I needed to call home, Daniel said. They laughed. They think I'm asking for permission to surrender. What are you actually asking for? How quickly can you position the 3rd Fleet, the 7th Fleet, and the Home Defense Fleet? Patricia did not hesitate. The 3rd Fleet is already moving. They'll be in position within 12 hours. 7th Fleet can jump in 14 hours. Home Defense can arrive in 16 hours. All 3 fleets, Sophie whispered. That's more than half of Earth's military. It's exactly what we need, Daniel said. Admiral, I want the Council to understand we're serious. Can you surround the Council station and their fleet without being detected until I give the signal? Easily, Patricia replied. Our ships are quieter than theirs, and we've been tracking their movements for the past month. We know exactly where their 300 ships are positioned. You've been tracking them for a month? Sophie asked. How? Patricia looked at the young lieutenant. Earth has an intelligence network that spans 70 star systems, Lieutenant. We have listening posts, scout ships, and monitoring stations. We see everything the Council does. They just don't know we're watching. Daniel stood up and picked up his newspaper again. Admiral Blake, please position all 3 fleets as discussed. Have them ready to reveal themselves on my signal. I want every ship showing on sensors simultaneously. Understood, Envoy Carter. Anything else? Yes. Tell Captain Brooks on the Defiance to perform the demonstration we discussed, the one with the synchronized maneuvers. Patricia nodded. He'll be ready. The crew has been practicing for weeks. Excellent. Daniel checked his watch. I need to get back to the Council chamber. They'll be expecting me to beg for more time or agree to their demands. What will you actually do? Patricia asked. Daniel smiled. I'll probably read more of my newspaper. There's an excellent article about agriculture I haven't finished yet. Patricia almost smiled. Almost. Good luck, Envoy. Thank you, Admiral. I'll contact you again in 48 hours. Daniel reached forward and ended the transmission. The hologram faded into blue light and then disappeared. Sophie sat in silence for a moment. Her mind tried to process everything she had just learned. Earth had fleets moving into position. Earth had been watching the aliens for months. Earth was not afraid. "Sir," she finally said, "why did you bring a newspaper to the council meeting?" Daniel looked at the folded paper in his hands. "Two reasons, Lieutenant. First, it reminds me that back on Earth, people are living normal lives. They're going to work, playing sports, growing food, and reading the news. That's what I'm here to protect. Not territory or pride, but the right of humans to live peaceful, boring lives." "And the second reason?" Daniel's smile was genuine this time. "It drives the aliens crazy. They cannot understand why I seem so unconcerned. It makes them wonder what I know that they don't." He opened the door to the corridor. "Come on. We should get back before they think we ran away." As they walked back toward the council chamber, Sophie realized something. Daniel Carter was not casual because he was stupid or naive. He was casual because he was completely, absolutely confident. And now she was beginning to understand why. 40 hours had passed since the council's ultimatum. Daniel Carter sat in his quarters on the station, reading his newspaper. He had read it 3 times already, but he kept finding new details in the smaller articles. A story about a children's science fair, a report on traffic improvements in Denver, a review of a new restaurant in Tokyo. Normal life on Earth continued. A knock came from his door. "Come in," Daniel called. Sophie entered, carrying her computer pad. She looked like she had not slept much. "Sir, the council has sent another message. They're demanding a formal response in 8 hours. 8 hours, Daniel repeated, turning to the crossword puzzle on the back page. "That gives us plenty of time. What's a 7-letter word for confidence?" "I don't know, sir." "Maybe assured?" "That's 7 letters, good." Daniel wrote the word in the puzzle. "How are our fleets positioned?" "According to the last update from Admiral Blake, all 3 fleets are in position. The 3rd fleet is above the council station. The 7th fleet is surrounding the alien armada from the western approach. Home Defense Fleet has the eastern approach covered." "And the aliens haven't detected them?" "No, sir. Our ships are running silent. The aliens are too busy celebrating their victory to scan properly." Daniel set down his newspaper. "Celebrating already? The deadline hasn't even passed." Sophie pulled up information on her pad. "Commander Lisa Park sent us an intelligence report. She's been monitoring alien communications. They're very confident, sir. Ambassador Krickstar has been telling everyone that Earth will surrender without a fight." "What else did Commander Park find?" Sophie scrolled through the report. "The aliens have been discussing Earth's biology. They find it amusing that we need oxygen and specific temperatures to survive. One species representative said humans are so fragile that a small change in air pressure could kill us." Daniel smiled at that. "They're not wrong. Humans are fragile compared to some species, but they're missing the important part." "What part, sir?" "Earth made us fragile and strong at the same time. Yes, we need oxygen and the right temperature, but Earth also has weather that can kill, diseases that adapted alongside us, and animals that see humans as food. We didn't evolve in a safe environment. We evolved despite a dangerous one." Sophie sat down across from Daniel. "Commander Park also noted something strange. The alien fleet has been in the same formation for 2 days. They haven't run any drills or changed positions." "They don't think they need to," Daniel explained. "In their experience, showing force is enough." "The threat of 300 ships makes everyone negotiate. They've never fought someone who threatened back." "But we're not threatening them. You've been reading a newspaper for 2 days. Daniel picked up the paper again and showed Sophie the front page. The main headline read, "Earth agricultural exports reach record high." Below it was a picture of wheat fields under a blue sky. "This is a threat, Lieutenant," Daniel said. "Look at this headline. Earth is doing so well that our biggest news is about farming. We're not worried about the Council. We're not preparing for evacuation. We're growing food and living normal lives. The aliens who notice this headline will start to wonder why." Have any of them noticed? 3 so far, according to Commander Park. 2 species representatives have quietly withdrawn their support from the coalition. They didn't make announcements. They simply moved their ships away from the main fleet. A communication alert beeped from Sophie's pad. She checked it quickly. "Sir, Captain Ryan Brooks sends his regards. The Defiance is ready for the demonstration." "Excellent. Tell him to stand by." Sophie typed a response, then looked up. "Sir, what is the Defiance going to demonstrate?" "How Earth ships move compared to alien ships," Daniel replied. "The aliens think their vessels are fast and maneuverable. They've never seen our ships perform combat maneuvers." Another knock came from the door. This time it was a mechanical sound, not a human knock. Daniel and Sophie exchanged glances. "Come in," Daniel called. The door opened to reveal a small floating sphere. It was a Council messenger drone. A holographic projection appeared above it, showing High Chancellor Vorn's scaled face. "Envoy Carter," Vorn's image said. "The Council requests your presence in the main chamber immediately. We have received reports of unidentified ships near the station. Do you know anything about this?" Daniel stood up and straightened his suit. "Unidentified ships, Chancellor? That's concerning. I'll come to the chamber right away." He ended the communication and looked at Sophie. "They're starting to detect our fleet. Is that bad?" "No, Lieutenant. That's perfect timing." Daniel picked up his newspaper and headed for the door. "Come on. This is about to get interesting." The Council chamber was much more crowded than it had been 2 days ago. Every species had sent additional representatives. The 7 coalition ambassadors stood at the front again, but now they looked less confident. Several of them kept glancing at display screens showing sensor readings. Daniel walked calmly to Earth's desk and sat down. He placed his newspaper on the desk and folded his hands on top of it. High Chancellor Vorn did not wait for everyone to settle. "Envoy Carter, our sensors have detected numerous ships entering this system. Large ships, military vessels. They appear to be human in design." "Do they?" Daniel asked politely. "They do," Vorn confirmed. His voice was tight. "We count approximately 60 ships above this station. Another 60 to the west of our fleet, and 60 more to the east." Ambassador Krixthar's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You brought your military here?" "This is a neutral station. This violates Council law." Daniel picked up his newspaper but did not unfold it. "Ambassador, you assembled 300 warships near our colonies. You threatened military action if we didn't surrender our settlements. I'm not sure you're in a position to complain about military presence." "Those ships were a deterrent," another ambassador argued. "We never intended to attack." "Really?" Daniel asked. "Then why are they armed? Why are their weapons powered? Why have they been running attack formation drills for the past week?" The chamber went silent. Several aliens looked at each other in confusion. They had been running drills. They just thought no one was watching. "You've been spying on us," Krixthar accused. "We've been watching you," Daniel corrected. "There's a difference. Spying implies you had secrets. You conducted military exercises in open space with active sensors broadcasting your positions. We simply paid attention." High Chancellor Vorn raised a hand for quiet. "Envoy Carter, what is Earth's intention? Are you planning to attack this council?" Daniel finally unfolded his newspaper. He made sure the motion was slow and deliberate so everyone could watch. "Chancellor, I came here to read the news and have a conversation. Your coalition chose to issue threats and ultimatums. My government chose to respond appropriately. By surrounding us with warships? By ensuring our diplomats are safe," Daniel replied. He found the article about agriculture again. Chancellor, I'm going to make this very simple. In 8 hours, when your deadline expires, I will give Earth's formal response to your demands. Until then, I suggest everyone remain calm. How can we remain calm with human warships surrounding us? The bird-like ambassador demanded. Daniel looked up from his newspaper. The same way Earth stayed calm when you surrounded our colonies with 300 ships. You either trust that no one wants a war, or you don't. Which is it? No one had an answer for that. The 8 hours passed slowly. Ambassadors from different species held private meetings in corners of the station. Some argued loudly. Others spoke in whispers. A few simply sat in silence, staring at sensor displays that showed human ships in perfect formation around the station. Daniel spent most of the time in his quarters reading. He had finished his newspaper twice more and started on a book about Earth history. Sophie brought him updates every hour, but there was little new to report. The alien fleet had not moved. The human fleet had not moved. Everyone waited. When the deadline finally arrived, Daniel put on his suit jacket and picked up his newspaper one last time. Sophie walked beside him to the council chamber, carrying her computer pad. She looked nervous. Daniel looked like he was going to a normal business meeting. The chamber was completely full. Every seat had an ambassador or representative. Even species that rarely attended council sessions had sent observers. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime to convert hundreds of different languages. Daniel walked to Earth's desk and remained standing. He placed his newspaper on the desk, but did not sit down. The room gradually grew quiet as everyone noticed him waiting. High Chancellor Vorn stood at the center podium. The Council recognizes Earth's envoy, Daniel Carter. The deadline has arrived. What is Earth's response to the Coalition's demands? Daniel buttoned his suit jacket slowly. Then he picked up his newspaper and held it so everyone could see the front page. Before I give Earth's formal response, I'd like to share something with the Council. This is a newspaper from Earth. It was printed 3 days ago before I came to this station. Several aliens made confused sounds. One ambassador translated to another. What is a newspaper? A newspaper is printed information, Daniel explained. Earth still prints physical news on paper, even though we have digital communication. We like having something we can hold, something real. He pointed to the headline. This headline says Earth's agricultural exports reached a record high. Our farms produced more food this year than any year in our history. Ambassador Krixthar's mandibles clicked impatiently. We did not gather to discuss human farming. But you should, Daniel replied calmly. This headline tells you something important about Earth. While you were planning ultimatums and assembling fleets, Earth was growing food. While you worried about our colonies, we worried about harvest yields. Do you understand what that means? It means you're not taking this seriously, Krixthar snapped. It means we never stopped taking it seriously, Daniel corrected. He set down his newspaper and touched a control on Earth's desk. A holographic display appeared above the center of the chamber, large enough for everyone to see clearly. The display showed a map of nearby space. Red dots marked the positions of the alien coalition fleet. 300 red dots clustered in 3 groups near human colonies. This is your fleet, Daniel said. 300 ships. Very impressive. He touched another control. Blue dots appeared on the map, surrounding the red dots. These are Earth's ships, 180 vessels from 3 different fleets. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in their various languages. Some stood up from their seats. Others activated their own displays to verify what they were seeing. Impossible, Krixthar shouted. Our sensors would have detected that many ships. Your sensors did detect them, Daniel replied. About 6 hours ago. That's when you first noticed ships near this station. But our ships have been in position for much longer. We simply didn't let you see them until we were ready. High Chancellor Vorn stared at the display. How long have you been tracking our fleet? Since you started assembling it 4 weeks ago, Daniel answered. We watched you gather ships from 7 different civilizations. We tracked every vessel as it arrived. We monitored your communications, your supply lines, and your formation drills. He touched the display again. Now it showed lines connecting each red dot to a blue dot. Every one of your ships has been assigned to one of ours. If fighting started, we would know exactly which human ship engages which alien ship. We planned this operation down to the smallest detail. Another ambassador stood up. This one looked like a mass of tentacles arranged in a vaguely humanoid shape. This is unacceptable. The council stations are neutral ground. You cannot bring military forces here. You're right, Daniel agreed. So let me show you something else. He changed the display again. Now it showed the current positions around the council station. Blue dots completely surrounded the station and the alien ships that had come with the ambassadors. 180 human warships, Daniel repeated. 60 above the station, 60 to the west, 60 to the east. Every ship is armed and ready. Every captain has their orders, and every single one of them has been waiting patiently for my signal. The chamber went absolutely silent. Even the translation devices seemed quieter, as if the machines themselves were holding their breath. Daniel let the silence stretch for a few seconds. Then he spoke again, his voice still calm and conversational. Now, I'm going to tell you something important about humans. We come from a planet called Earth. You've called it a death world. You're correct. Earth has strong gravity that crushes most species. Earth has weather that kills. Earth has diseases that can destroy entire populations. Earth has animals that hunt humans for food. He walked slowly around his desk, moving closer to the center of the chamber. But Earth also gave humanity something valuable. It taught us to prepare for danger. It taught us to plan ahead. It taught us to work together against threats. Every human in space right now, including me, grew up learning that the universe is dangerous and that survival requires constant attention. Sophie activated another display from Earth's desk. This one showed detailed information about the alien fleet: ship classes, weapon types, crew sizes, supply status. We know everything about your fleet, Daniel continued. We know which ships are your newest and which are your oldest. We know which captains are experienced and which are not. We know that 12 of your ships have engine problems. We know that 46 ships are running low on certain supplies. We know all of this because we've been watching and learning since the moment you started gathering. Ambassador Krixthar's antennae drooped. You've been preparing for this confrontation. We've been preparing since first contact 15 years ago, Daniel confirmed. When an alien ship attacked humans without warning, we learned that space is not friendly. We spent 15 years building ships, training crews, and establishing intelligence networks. We did all of this while also growing food, building cities, and living normal lives. That's what humans do. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. He returned to his desk and picked up his newspaper again. Now let me give you Earth's formal response to your demands. He spoke clearly so every translator could capture his words perfectly. Earth declines your ultimatum. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not retreat from space. We will not surrender to threats. The chamber erupted again. Some aliens shouted in anger. Others made sounds of fear. A few simply sat in stunned silence. Daniel waited for the noise to die down. However, he continued, Earth does not want war. We came to space to explore and to trade. We came to meet new species and learn new things. We came in peace, and we still prefer peace. High Chancellor Vorn leaned forward. Then what does Earth want? Daniel smiled. It was the same polite, friendly smile he had been using for 3 days. We want what everyone wants, Chancellor. Respect, fair treatment, the right to exist without threats, and we want the Council to understand one simple truth. What truth? Vorn asked quietly. Daniel's smile faded. His voice remained calm, but now it carried weight. If you threaten humanity, We will respond. Not with words, not with negotiations. We will respond with action, immediate, overwhelming action. We are a peaceful species, Chancellor, but we are not a weak species. There is a difference. He set down his newspaper one final time. I suggest we all take a break and think carefully about what happens next, because the next few hours will determine whether this council has a peaceful relationship with humanity or whether we become something else entirely. The council took a 2-hour recess. Daniel spent that time in his quarters, drinking coffee and watching the news from Earth. A baseball game was playing. He did not care much about baseball, but watching it made him feel connected to home. Normal people doing normal things. That was worth protecting. Sophie sat across from him, reviewing intelligence reports from Commander Lisa Park. Sir, 5 species have withdrawn their support from the coalition. They're requesting private meetings with you to discuss trade agreements. Which 5? Sophie read from her pad. The Ventari Collective, the Hive Worlds, the Free Traders Union, the Mineral Consortium, and the Silver Wing Alliance. The smart ones, Daniel observed. They saw the display and understood what it meant. What about the other 2 coalition members? Still supporting Ambassador Krixthar, but their communications show doubt. Commander Park intercepted messages between their home governments. They're receiving orders to avoid conflict. Daniel sipped his coffee. And Krixthar himself? He's trying to rally support, but no one is listening anymore. He's been in private meetings with High Chancellor Vorn for the past hour. A message alert appeared on Sophie's pad. She read it quickly, and her eyes widened. Sir, Admiral Blake wants to speak with you. Daniel activated his communication system. Patricia Blake's hologram appeared, still wearing her military uniform. She looked tired but satisfied. Envoy Carter, I thought you should know. The alien fleet near our colonies has begun to disperse. 70 ships have already jumped to other systems. The rest are powering down weapons and moving to safer distances. Any hostile movements? None. They're retreating without being asked. Very professional about it, too. Daniel nodded. Good. That means their governments have made the decision for them. No one wants to fight a war they just learned they cannot win. Captain Brooks is standing by for the demonstration, Patricia reminded him. Do you still want him to proceed? Yes. The Council needs to see what our ships can actually do. Not as a threat, but as information. They should understand the truth. Understood. I'll give the order. Patricia glanced at something off-screen. Daniel, you did well. You gave them every chance to back down peacefully. Thank you, Admiral. Let's hope they take those chances. The hologram faded. Sophie looked at Daniel with curiosity. Sir, what demonstration are we showing them? You'll see, Lieutenant. It's better experienced than explained. When they returned to the council chamber, the atmosphere had changed. The tension remained, but the anger had faded. Aliens spoke in quieter voices. Many looked worried instead of confident. Some kept checking their sensor displays, watching the human ships that still surrounded the station. Daniel took his position at Earth's desk. He did not sit down. He stood straight and waited for High Chancellor Vorn to begin. Vorn looked older than he had 3 days ago. The scales around his eyes seemed duller. Envoy Carter, the Council has discussed your response. Many members wish to speak. I ask that you listen before making final decisions. Of course, Chancellor. One by one, ambassadors stood and spoke. Most of them distanced themselves from the coalition's ultimatum. They claimed they had been misled about humanity's nature. They emphasized their desire for peaceful relations. A few apologized for supporting threats against Earth. Ambassador Krixthar did not speak. He sat in his seat, mandibles clenched shut, staring at the floor. When the speeches ended, High Chancellor Vorn addressed Daniel directly. The Council recognizes that our approach to humanity was based on incorrect assumptions. We believed you were a new species, inexperienced in galactic politics. We did not realize you had been observing us for 15 years. We did not know about your military capabilities. We did not understand your nature as a species from a death world. Many species come from difficult worlds, Daniel replied. Earth is not unique in that way. Perhaps, Vorn agreed, but most species spend thousands of years reaching space. You reached it in a few centuries. Most species develop slowly, avoiding conflict. You develop through constant competition. Most species see military strength as a last resort. You see it as a normal part of existence. We prefer peace, Daniel said firmly. Our military exists to protect, not to conquer. We understand that now. Vorn's voice carried genuine respect. The Council would like to discuss new terms for humanity's place in galactic civilization, terms based on mutual respect rather than imposed restrictions. I'm listening. Vorn gestured to a display that appeared in the center of the chamber. The Council proposes the following. First, Earth's existing colonies will be recognized as legitimate human territory. Second, Earth will be granted full member status in the Council with all associated rights. Third, the Council will establish formal trade and cultural exchange programs with humanity. Daniel considered the terms. They were generous, too generous, perhaps. And in exchange? We ask that humanity share some of your knowledge, Vorn explained. Your intelligence-gathering techniques. Your ship designs. Your military training methods. Not as surrender, but as cooperation. Many species in the Council face threats from outside our borders. Threats from species that do not respect diplomacy. Your expertise could help defend many worlds. It was a clever offer. The Council was turning a potential enemy into an ally by asking for help. Daniel respected that. I'll need to discuss this with my government, but the proposal seems reasonable. However, I have one condition. Yes? No more ultimatums, no more threats. If the Council has concerns about human actions in the future, you talk to us, you negotiate, you don't assemble fleets and demand surrender. That approach doesn't work with humanity. Vorn nodded slowly. Agreed. The Council will treat Earth as an equal power. Then we have an understanding. Daniel activated his communication system. Admiral Blake, please have Captain Brooks begin the demonstration. Demonstration? Vorn asked. What demonstration? You should watch your displays, Daniel suggested. Every screen in the chamber switched to show exterior views of space near the station. The human fleet was clearly visible, 180 blue dots on sensors. Then, at some signal no one heard, all 180 ships began to move. They moved together, perfectly synchronized. Each ship turned at exactly the same moment, accelerated at exactly the same rate, and changed direction with precise timing. The formation flowed through space like a school of fish. Except these fish were massive warships performing maneuvers at speeds that made alien vessels look slow by comparison. Aliens throughout the chamber stared in amazement. Some made sounds of appreciation. Others looked frightened. The human ships formed complex patterns, split into smaller groups, reformed into new configurations, and finally settled back into their original positions. The entire demonstration lasted 4 minutes. That was the Defiance formation, Daniel explained. One of our basic training exercises. Every human ship captain learns it during their first year of service. We have 200 more formations, each more complex than the last. Impossible, someone whispered. No fleet can move like that. Human fleets can, Daniel replied, because human crews train constantly, because human captains trust each other completely, because humanity learned long ago that survival requires cooperation and practice. He turned to face the entire chamber. I want the Council to understand something. Those ships you just watched? They're not our best ships. They're not our most advanced weapons. They're standard military vessels crewed by normal humans. What you saw is what Earth considers basic competence. Sophie pulled up another display showing information about Earth's military. Earth has 20 fleets, she read aloud. Each fleet contains 60 ships, 1,200 warships total, plus 600 support and cargo vessels, plus 400 scout ships, plus 200 defense stations. The numbers hung in the air like a physical weight. Daniel continued speaking. Earth developed all of this in 15 years. We built these ships while also building cities, farms, schools, and hospitals. We trained military crews while also training doctors, teachers, engineers, and artists. We prepared for war while living in peace. That's what deathworlds teach you. That's what it means to be human. He paused to let that sink in. The council asked what makes Earth different. I'll tell you. Every human grows up knowing that life is fragile. We know that safety must be earned. We know that peace requires strength. We learned these lessons before we ever reached space. Earth taught us well. High Chancellor Vorn bowed his head slightly, a gesture of respect in his species. The Council acknowledges humanity's strength and wisdom. We welcome Earth as a full member of galactic civilization. Daniel smiled and picked up his newspaper from his desk. Thank you, Chancellor. Now, if there's nothing else, I'd like to finish reading this article about corn yields. It's quite fascinating. Several aliens made sounds that translators turned into laughter. The tension that had filled the chamber for 3 days finally broke. Ambassadors began talking to each other in normal voices. Some approached Daniel to introduce themselves properly. Others simply left, relieved that the crisis had ended without violence. Sophie stood next to Daniel as he actually did return to reading his newspaper. Sir, we did it. We got everything we wanted without firing a single shot. That was the goal, Lieutenant, Daniel replied, not looking up from his paper. War is easy. Peace is hard. Anyone can destroy. It takes skill to build and protect. Did you ever think they might actually attack? Daniel finally looked up and met her eyes. Every moment of every day, Lieutenant. I was terrified. But I couldn't show that fear. The moment they knew I was afraid, they would have pushed harder. So I read my newspaper and acted like I had nothing to worry about. But you really did have nothing to worry about, Sophie said. We had the superior position. Superior positions can be lost, Daniel reminded her. Battles can be won or lost by single decisions. I'm just grateful we didn't have to find out. He folded his newspaper and stood up. Come on. Let's go home. I think Earth has a baseball game on tonight, and I'd like to watch the end. As they left the council chamber, Daniel took one last look at the room full of aliens who had threatened humanity just days before. Now they were talking, negotiating, building relationships. That was worth more than any military victory. Outside the station, 180 human warships remained in formation. They would stay there for another day, a silent reminder of Earth's capabilities. Then they would return home, back to the boring work of patrolling space and protecting colonies. And somewhere on Earth, completely unaware of how close they had come to war, people were watching baseball and reading newspapers and living normal, peaceful lives. Daniel had done his job. He had kept them safe without them ever knowing they were in danger. That was exactly how it should be.